I will be honest and tell you, at the moment, there are no plans for full ship interiors. That's a fact. And I think I expressed this on one of the streams before as to why they weren't going to be going in, and we did put it in the forum post. And it simply is, at the moment, it doesn't add enough value to the gameplay loops. That is what is the belief behind the development team, i.e. that the complexity around add this in, and it's not just adding in a ship interior like are in other games. It's then when you go in and you add a ship interior and you have all the various modules laid out in different locations, how it's going to look, and then be able to walk around them. And then it's well, then I've landed at base, I'm under attack and I want to get away, but it's taking me 30 seconds to run to the top of my Anaconda because this is now a 1-to-1 scale of my ship and I've got to go for every single door, etc., and I've been blown up and this isn't fun anymore. Or I'm now bored because I just want to get on my ship and I'm sick and tired because I want to land, get out. It's great to have, and I can see it from both sides. I love the immersion stuff. I'm all over it. And I think it's fantastic. But I also look at it from the other point of view. If this doesn't add anything, it's going to get boring very quickly for people after that first 10, 15 times. If you're in a big ship and it takes you 30, 40 seconds to get through your ship to get off a planet, and then to get off your planet to go into a station when you might drop something off, it will become tiresome because it's not a lift where you're just going in and you haven't got to do anything. You're actually going to have to run around and do stuff. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. It's not necessarily FDEVs, but at the moment, it doesn't add any value. They can't see the value added into a gameplay loop. If that changes, perhaps they'll go back and relook at it. But at the moment, there are no more plans. That's me being honest. I said before on the stream, it may not be the answer people want to have, but I'm a big fan of, I'd rather give you the answer than say nothing.
Yeah. Ben?
Right. Probably two things. One, have you ever played Pulsar, Pulsar Lost Colony?
I have not.
Right. That is a game where you are basically 5 people crewing a starship, and there's people of you. It's a and you're running around fixing components, doing all that stuff, and it is probably one of the most hectic and immersive and brilliant games. Crewing, where you're all doing your own jobs, a bit like what we could have done with multi-crew, but didn't. And there's just so much potential that game can. I'm not gonna. A dev will give you a better answer to this than I will, right? And I'm not gonna. I don't want to sound like I'm being confrontational because I see people in chat going, you're not listening, and we all want ship interiors. You're just not listening to us. Let's be frank about this. What you're asking for is a fundamental change to the game. Oh, gotcha.
So you're asking for us to create these giant customizable units of space to be multi-crewed, then fly through in the speed of time that we're doing with Odyssey on a 1-to-1 scale of the galaxy. It's not a small task to take. And when you have a look at all the other stuff we could have added in, I guess that's the decision they made at those early doors. So people just saying, "I'll just do ship interiors." It's not a just do ship interiors, right? You don't just go around and go, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to model every type of ship interior to its scale." And these ships are huge in comparison to, I think players realized that when we started showing Odyssey off, sort of in the alpha, and people stood next to Corvettes, etc., etc. You want to model that Corvette on a 1-to-1 scale, walk around it, and then you're going to ask for various functions to be taking place within that Corvette whilst you're flying, and it's all customizable to the modules you set in it. And then if, say, you have passenger cabins and you have your passengers in there, the next question is going to be, I want to see the passengers, and then I want to interact with my passengers, and then you're into a whole different game. And at what point do you stop? Because there's a point of where we're trying to get to, which is it's a sim, and we want it to be enjoyable. Now, again, this is me speaking as Arthur, not as FDEV. It's my own rationale I've put behind this. Again, I would love to see ship interiors, but I do appreciate you're asking for a significant step change shift in what the game's actually doing. And that's the question is, once you go down that road, at what point do you stop?
Another example that we've built into the structure of the game is ship interiors. Now, a lot of people you've seen that we're designing all the ships with the interiors in mind, how the cargo is unloaded, all of that sort of thing, how damage occurs. And that's because that another thing that we are doing, again down the line, is that you will be able to walk around inside your ship. You'll be able to get out of your ship, walk around inside space stations, other vehicles, all of that sort of thing. We've shown the damage on the ship, the damage models. Imagine looking at that from inside the ship outwards, seeing your cargo flying out into space, seeing the flames, trying to fight them. All of those things that we plan with time, they won't be at the first release because we want to do them right. We want to do them well. All of these will be done as updates, and I'll talk some more about that in a second, but the point really is that we want to do it well, but the game has to be structured in a way to allow it from the start. So we're designing the ships so that they work that way, and so that when we come to do it, it's not a problem. When we come to show all of these elements, walking around the ships, walking into other people's ships potentially stealing them, we have got in mind all of the things, all of the gameplay, the really rich gameplay that entails. And it's, to go back to what I've been saying right from the start of this Kickstarter, what is the game I want to play? This is the game I want to play. Because actually, in many ways, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like a world that I'm being brought into. And with each of these subsequent updates, we expect that world will get richer and richer, and more of the things that we are excited about will be there. You will be able to walk around the spaceport, you will be able to see gold being loaded into someone else's ship, you will be able to sneak in and hide in amongst the cargo. All of those things are phenomenal gameplay opportunities, where that ship might actually be the ship of another player. So just think where that all ends. All of these things I think we need to do right.
I would love to see players running around their ship and other ships, dealing with emergencies and repelling boarders, cleaning up toxic spillages, exploring derelict husks, that sort of mischief.
What I want to see in future releases of Elite Dangerous will be more ships, more diversity in design and the looks of the spaceships, the ability to walk around them, particularly the bigger ones like the Anaconda.
One of the things that we've implemented on some of the larger ships is based on a grid system of meter squares. So the cockpit is of a certain size, and within that there's a lift shaft, and that shaft will then channel down and be the same position throughout the ship on all the lower decks.
Planning for the future, where on the one hand you have something like a Cobra, which actually is a giant vehicle with a huge ladder you get out of, or an Anaconda, which in itself would probably be the size of a level in many of the first-person shooter games that I've played.
What's really exciting is zero gravity. That's something you don't see in a lot of games, and being able to sort of float around your ship, float through the corridors and float out of your ship and sort of climb around it and fix something on the outside, I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see that in the future.
I'm really looking forward to zero-G combat, getting out of your seat and then being in a atmosphere that has absolutely no gravity. How is that going to work? I'm really looking forward to playing that.
I love things like walking around inside the ship and the space station.
So, yeah, I don't think I really need to say anything. I think the editing said it all. But I'm going to let you guys hop in. Boss Lady, why don't you go first on this one?
Oh, man. I was just sitting here going, damn, that was great editing. So, I guess my first thought on this one is this is the difference between the Kickstarter dreaming of what you want the product to be and midway through rolling the actual product out. I was here when we had the conversation about why ship interiors is probably not something that's going to be easy to do, so I won't repeat that, but I think for David Braben and all of us, the idea of Elite Dangerous is to get completely immersed in this world, into being out in space, being able to, like he said, see the cargo getting loaded on, walk up the ramp, and at least teleport at the door. I don't think it would be a completely different game, but Arf does have a point. At what point do you draw the line? So I think that's one of those questions that I want to ask other people about as much as talk about. But for me, man, I would love to be able to walk around in the cargo bay or just even in the pilot's, in the cockpit. You can do that in VR. Please, please, please let us just wander around our cockpit. I would be so happy for that. So, yeah, that edit. Oof.
Right on, Black Maze.
Yeah, well done, Kai. That was great. I once in a while I go back to these old videos, and every time I do, I get a little bit depressed because it's the vision we all had. I mean, I don't know how long you guys have been playing. I've been from the start, and from the start, I always expected that would happen. And I think there've been a lot of design choices over the year that, at least personally, I don't think were the right ones. I would have had walking in ships way earlier. I think, when you have that sim, for me, it would have been great to have that much earlier, and I still would have very much liked it. I remember playing games like Star Wars Galaxies where you were able to walk around in your ships and then interact with modules. And of course it was super basic, but I was literally hanging around with guys in my big yacht, and we had a party and all that. And damn, would I love to immerse myself that way in Elite. That would be incredible. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Tweet.
Oh, where do I begin with this? Where do I begin? How about, I am not buying, and this is at least the second time I've heard that BS excuse, oh, it's not going to be fun when you got to run all the way through your Anaconda when you're getting shot at and you get blown up. Bullshit, pardon my language. I want to be Han Solo running up that ramp, racing to the cockpit to fire up those engines to get the hell away from whatever's firing at me. I want that excitement, that thrilling gameplay. It's such a poor excuse to say, oh, it's going to take 30 seconds to run through there. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. You don't have to start at the very back of the ship and go through on all of them. That's not the way the entrances are on all of the ships. To say, I can't imagine what gameplay we could have. You just heard David Braben himself give you 3 different examples. How about a science lab for all this exploration that you're doing in Odyssey now? You take some of those samples into the science lab, actually do some things and get some information about it. How about derelict ships? You have ship interiors. You've come across a derelict ship out there. You can board it and scavenge on it and do all kinds of things. There is so much gameplay that can come about from ship interiors. And I get it. You're asking for a fundamental change in Elite. Yeah, we are. And I know it's going to be hard. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but guess what? You're freaking game developers. This is what you set out to do. This is your job. You set out to make an immersive game where we can dive into this galaxy that we all have fallen in love with and believe that we're there. And without the addition of ship interiors, that's done. It's gone. With everything the Odyssey has and no ship interiors, no way. You can't have it. We'll all go to Star Citizen. We'll all go to the next big thing. It's just so short-sighted to think, oh, this is too hard. This is such a fundamental change. We're going to give you this little thing and that little thing and this little thing instead because this isn't important anymore. To see the fundamental change from where David Braben was years ago to where we are right now is depressing.
So I'm going to point out a couple of things. First off, Art said, you're asking us to redesign everything so that we can make ship interiors. David Braben says, that's why from the very beginning, we're designing all of this with ship interiors in mind. We're not going to have it now, but fundamentally, from the beginning, we're building it with that as the goal. So it's not really changing anything. I understand it would definitely be a lot of work, and I think that it would probably be worth it to put, spaceship interiors in your spaceship game. I think maybe people would like that. You talk about, people are going to get bored with just walking through. No, they're not. I play Star Citizen. I do not get bored at all from walking through my ship. It offers so many opportunities. You had developers talking about how they mapped out all the square feet and they had the elevator position set for, very specific reasons and whatnot from jump. You've got developers talking about how what they really love is the idea of like, oh my God, imagine 0G and getting out and floating around. Yes, I do want to go to there. I want to imagine 0G. I want to imagine EVA. I want to imagine all kinds of fun stuff I can do. Now for Art, you're fairly new to this project as far as coming on as a community manager. So let me just point out, that was a little history lesson. Now you see what your boss says about spaceship interiors.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So Odyssey was a big expansion, right? I know, for example, like there's been people querying like, what would you prefer to have first? In what order would you like to have content? What if just this is to gauge how important ship interiors is to you guys. What if you didn't get the new planetary tech? You didn't get conflict zones, but you got ship interiors. Would that have made you happier?
Yeah, but slightly. So the new planetary tech and all of that stuff, like the conflict zones, the running around on foot doesn't excite me. Oh, sorry. The combat on foot doesn't excite me. The running around on foot excites me because it's part of what's necessary for running around in your ship too. Like they had to design all of that. I honestly, for me, I would say my 1, 2, and 3 would be number 1, give me ship interiors. Number 2, give me crossplay, and number 3, continue the line of atmospheric landings, like water worlds, gas giants, Earth-like worlds, yada yada yada. But yeah.
Can you imagine if we had boarding mega ships?
That would be cool. That would be very, very cool.
Sorry, I'm speaking out of term. I'm just getting everyone imagining things. The chat's going yes, 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 yes on my question. I think people really like ship interiors.
Yeah, no, we did a poll and 98% of the people said they wanted ship interiors. Obsidian Ant did a poll. 98% of the people said they wanted ship interiors. Down to Earth Astronomy did a poll. 98% of the players said they wanted ship interiors. I'm sensing a reoccurring theme here. Yeah, turns out people want spaceships in your spaceship game. Who knew? I also want to give a huge shout out and a salute to Ben Moss Woodward of LAVE Radio for having the balls to tell Art flat out, hey, have you heard about this other game? They do this cool thing where you work together to fly a ship. Kind of like what we could have done with Multicrew, but never did. That was choice, my friend. Boss Lady.
Yeah, so I think we all are on the same page with this one, which I'd never really thought about it, Black Maze, in terms of would you trade blank and blank for ship interiors? Because that's basically what we would be asking for. If we could go back in time to when they started in on Odyssey and they did a poll of the community, they would have gotten this 98% of us want ship interiors because there are a lot of games that are on foot space-based games. And yes, I love getting out and walking around, and I love I'm one of those rare people that I'm just loving the game because I'm out there, taking plant samples, and I love all of the stuff they've given us. But I think if you had asked me, 2 years ago, right after Horizons kind of wrapped up with a lot of the stuff that they had, what was the next thing? Yeah, walking around inside my ship and being able to do inside ship stuff would be high on that list. And it does beg the question, what is going to be on their roadmap at the end of the month? I hope we do see ship interiors somewhere very far off in the future, even though we've gotten that pretty definite, this is not part of Odyssey. What's the next? What's the next DLC? And it's sad to be thinking about that already. I feel really sad that we're already like, hey, can we get the next DLC? Odyssey was, yeah, but can we get the next one?
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. For those people that say add ship interiors to Odyssey, like that's not realistic. That's not sort of fair to expect because it's too much work. But if they were to come out and say, hey, man, we're going to give you a couple of ships. We're going to give you a couple SRVs. We're going to do a little of this. We're going to do a little of that. We're going to fill out the NASA gameplay. We're going to give you some fun stuff. And then, me personally, I would like to see Frontier release new paid content every year. I would like to see them go to a model that's much more agile, that releases smaller stuff. And if they were to say, hey, a year from now, we're going to give you, walking in your ships. We're going to spend a year and we're going to just, grind it out. We're going to, I don't know to what extent we were told that they had designed the ships with walking in ships in mind from the beginning, but I don't know to what extent over time there was more stuff that needed to happen or whatever. Okay, fine. But commit. That's the next thing. We're working on it. That's going to happen. I would be, as Black Maze has said repeatedly earlier, I'm a big boy. I don't need it right this second. But if I know that it's coming, I can go, Okay, all right, good. Cool, it's coming. There's plenty to enjoy in Elite. But just, I feel like Odyssey has been extra grindy, extra soulless, pew-pew shoot a guy in the face, and not any of the high-minded, more scientific, more thoughtful, more whatever that I wanted out of Odyssey, that I come to Elite Dangerous for. That doesn't mean that they can't turn it around. That doesn't mean that Odyssey can't go down in history 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Players look back at Odyssey and say, man, that was such a great expansion because it gave us the building blocks of walking around on your feet. And from that, in the next expansion, we could walk around in our ships. In the expansion after that, we were doing all kinds of crazy, archaeology through alien ruins. In the expansion after that, we were, landing in Earth-like worlds and doing mineralogy and there's tons that Odyssey can be a useful stepping stone to get to. I just want to see some sign that this is going somewhere good and that this is not going to just degenerate into Fortnite in space. Because that I'm not down for.